Fuck.
We are back. Welcome to another episode of Going For It. The OG Brain Trust back together again. Different states of disrepair. All a little tired. Mostly tired.
How
Broken.
dare you? Fuck yeah.
It's been a hard training camp.
Man, we've been
My
out
knee
here.
hurts. I was running on the beach with my child. My fucking right knee is trash.
Craig's out 6 to 8 weeks. Lots of rehab.
I pulled an abdomen muscle farting the other night, so
You're
really
basically Kevin Hart.
right, really
That's good
downhill.
stuff.
Oh my god, I did hear about that. I thought it was a joke, but apparently it's not. Mike, did you hear about this?
I did not hear about this.
Oh my god, tell him, Pat. Tell him what happened. This is
So-
apparently real.
This is a real thing. Kevin Hart raced former Patriot running back Stephen Ridley
Okay.
in a foot race. And
Seems
he
like
was
a
like, "No,
mistake.
dude, I'm faster than you." They raced 2 times. Stephen Ridley has released the video on X, and
Don't call it that. It's Twitter. It's just Twitter.
It is Twitter. And Kevin Hart tore every muscle in his lower abdomen.
What?
He just tore
He
it
is
off.
in a wheelchair.
Yeah, it's,
What?
He made a video
6
about it.
to 8 weeks.
Yeah, he made a video about it. Which is why I thought it was a joke, but he tried too hard and his lower abdomen
His
just ripped.
ripped out.
Well, you know what? I'm not doing the treadmill this week. I'm just not going to do it.
Skip
I'm not gonna pull a
Fucking
Kevin Hart.
skip it.
Honey, do you
Oh,
want me to
man.
end up like Kevin Hart? That's the response to everything from this point forward.
More
Just like,
respect.
do you know
for-
what happened to Kevin Hart?
Right, I can't do this fitness. More respect for Pac-Man Jones though, who's 39 and ran a 4.51 or 4.52.
Yeah, just dumb
I can't.
at that age.
I was running after him because little man, the fucking first day we get to the beach, little man hits the beach. Everything's great. Mel's like, go get me XYZ. I turn around to go get it. It's back up at the room. He bolts. Day one, he goes.
Oh, no.
And Mel's like, Craig, you hear that version of it. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, he's kind of far away. So he's not coming back. He's not listening. He's just going down the beach. And I was like, fuck, I got Crocs on here to kick him off and get going, right? And he had like a...
Sport mode. What are you doing? Come on.
I
now.
want to say he had like a 50-yard advantage and all that. But I don't like running like that. And that's why my knee hurts now. I had to like dad it out. We had to have a whole 6-minute sit down, a lot of talking, a lot of like, are we going to run away again? No. You know, shit
If
like
we
that.
are, your mom is going to kill you. She
No, it
will
was if we
murder
are,
you.
we have to go inside for the whole time. For the
Right.
rest
That's
of
what
the
that's what
time.
you think it is, but what it actually is your mom will catch you and then murder you. You will be dead.
She was frustrated. But I was the athlete for the moment. Made it happen. Caught
Did
a
you run like Tom
3-year-old.
Cruise?
Now I'm a little gimpy.
I was real tight. I was real tight. Tom Cruise might be the greatest runner of all time.
Certainly
The
in
way
cinema.
Yes. He runs
Sounds a lot.
best. He gives it his all. Unlike Trey Lance, who clearly... No, I'm just trying to shitty segue.
Trey Lance tried,
You know who he
okay?
runs better than Trey Lance.
Well, wait a minute. I just finished Hard Knocks' 3rd episode because I wanted to be caught up because I
Right.
missed it over the beach week. Zach Wilson can scoot.
He's got a
Zach-
little movement to him.
I didn't see much of his BYU days, so I didn't know, but he can move.
So before we get into that, because we all have feelings about Hard Knocks, I'm excited about it. We are recording on Friday evening. I would say like 2 hours before this, Trey Lance was traded from the San Francisco 49ers, who gave up what can only be described as a king's ransom to the Miami Dolphins, for the opportunity to draft this individual. He was moved to the Dallas Cowboys for a 4th-round pick in 2024. The end.
Yeah. And he might
That
not make
is-
the roster. I'm just
That
saying.
is bad. No, he might not. And like
might not.
for a 4th-round pick in 2024, maybe, but like
Yeah.
they have a dude in Cooper Rush who they're confident in. He's been
They
in the
like
system for a couple of years. So like it is not a good look. They're not going to carry 4 quarterbacks on their roster because they also have Will Grier. What I want to pose as my first question into the nonsense bullshit that this has become because last year he was the dude. You remember?
No,
They
he was
went
never
into
the
last
dude.
year.
He was never the dude.
Last year they were like, we want him to learn trial by fire. He's gonna be it, and like
They
they
wanted
were
him
like,
to be the
fucking
dude.
Jimmy G, you're out of here. You're trash, and that can also be true, but Trey Lance, not the dude. Not the dude. I want to pose this question to Craig Brooks first. Is this an egregious enough error? Did they give up enough? And I'm going to ask you first because your Dolphins were the recipients of all of these rewards. Is this an egregious enough mistake that if the 49ers do not lift the Lombardi trophy this year, do there need to be front office changes?
No, I don't think so. They've been so relevant the last couple years in the NFC. This obviously cost them a lot, but things happen and roll as they do. They could have gotten other people instead of sinking it into him, but didn't they make like the NFC championship two of those of the last like 4 years, and they made it to a Super Bowl 2 years ago? So I'm close on that
I
because I know
believe so, yeah.
Kansas City beat them, and it's this same core. They drafted Lance what 3 seasons ago, so it's the same kind of time period.
2020.
Yeah.
So this would be his third season, yeah.
So I don't know if I think they've got one of the better front offices in bringing in talent and cultivating talent. I think this is a big miss. I think it's a big mistake. I forget, it wasn't Shanahan, if I remember right. He wanted Mac Jones, and then it was Lynch.
He wanted Lance.
Oh, he wanted. Are you sure? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
then it was Lynch that didn't, or whatever. So I just don't see it as you framed it as front office. I don't think they're at risk here. If anything, it would be whoever liked Lance.
Okay, so would you even consider, because by the NFL metric of success, the 49ers have been successful.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't make it past the NFC Championship game this year, is Kyle Shanahan on the hot seat? Is he gone? Is he?
No, I think this is like, think of it in like investing. You write off losses, right? If you want to move forward and you want to really succeed, and it's an organization, it's a business, right? The Niners, and you got to make business decisions. I believe they're just writing off the loss, like you write off a miss when stocks go down or whatever, however, or a bad employee or whatever. You just write it off and you move forward. I believe they were already moved forward. To your point, you said yes, they tried to give him the rock. He got hurt. I guess week 2 or 3. It was very early.
Yeah.
But I don't think anything was that exciting even before he got hurt. He just wasn't the dude. He wasn't the dude. I don't think he's gonna be the dude. I wish him well. I'm not like a anti guy. It's just, of the footage I've seen, and none of it was that impressive to begin with.
So, Mikey, I want to pose the same inquiries to you. How do you feel? You are in the position where have the newer quarterback of everyone on this pod. Rookie coming into year 2. You've seen the signs. You've seen the changes. He's fresher than Trey Lance is to the league. How do you feel about this if you were in the position of the 49ers?
If I was a 49ers fan, I'd be pissed that the trade happened, because it was apparent from almost the second he touched the field that he was not the guy. I don't know what it is.
Nope.
There's a big lack of talent in the NFL front office in evaluating talent or in coaching up said talent. Because how many people come out of college so highly touted every year? This guy's the once in a generation talent. Oh my God, he's going to be great. And then they fizzle. How many first round draft picks totally just fizzle in the NFL year after year after year? And I don't know, is it because it's just that hard to grade talent coming out of college? Is it
It's a skill. It's a skill that some have cultivated better than others.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, there's probably just a very small number of people that can actually do it, but the NFL has to employ like 10 times that actual number because of the number of teams they have.
It could be a shitty analogy, but isn't like the one that came to mind was like Simon Cowell with being able to hear people that he can then spin into records, right? He was better than others at like picking voices for pop. Or Rick Rubin might be a better example. He like had a golden ear. That's why he was such a successful producer in music. What if like Belichick, for example, or you can give a few other teams and the nod. They're just that special and talented. And like, it's probably only what, 20% of the teams that have that level. You got to know that Kansas City's doing that. Look at their drafting. Look at all, like, they drafted Kelsey, they drafted Mahomes, they drafted Pacheco, like they drafted more guys than that. But there's literally a talent gap that, to your point, I'm not sure if it can't get filled, because you can't train the ear or the eye. You can't. That's a thing that can be. It could be told. It could become like an oral story of Bill trying to make his sons good enough to be second generation like head coaches. He's doing what he can, but if they don't have it, if they don't have the magic that he has between the ears,
they don't have it. They don't have it.
I don't know them enough. One does linebackers, one does safeties, but like, I would agree with you that the odds are they don't actually have it. So I think we're not going to, like, there's always going to be the have and have nots. And then Philly's got a dude like that in the front office who's really, really been picking really well. Howie something or other. Kelsey talks about him. Yeah. Certain people are game changers. And I can't tell whether Pat was saying that Lynch, I feel like, might be, but then Shanahan being the problem, the offense and stuff works so well that he'll not get canned. Sorry. I feel like I meandered there.
No, you're good. My concern is that you can be a great coach for a long time. Andy Reid was a very successful coach within Philadelphia, took them to a Super Bowl. They lost that Super Bowl and eventually just ran out of rope. And I feel like I'm getting the same vibe from Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, where like, he's doing awesome stuff. He's doing great things. His offense clicks. They're always effective. Like, he's able to add pieces, and like, they're scouting properly for his offense and whatnot. But to me, as someone who saw this with Andy Reid in Philly and now seeing Andy Reid in Kansas City, there was something that changed. Like, after Andy got fired in Philly, he went to KC, and something is different with him now. I don't know if he's more carefree, if he's more lax, he lets his players do more. Maybe Shanahan's not there yet, but to me, it looks like Shanahan needs, he doesn't have that like last level to get to. And I'm just wondering, like, how long is losing in the NFC Championship going to sit well with ownership before they're like, we need to either shit or get off the pot?
I like that connection. I actually didn't see it until you just laid it out so perfectly with Andy Reid. But that would speak well for Shanahan in a new spot to get that catalyst.
And I think that he would. I don't think that he's a bad
Mike has
coach.
done research, though. Mike, wait a minute. Mike has done research.
I
can see his eyes. He's going to shit on one of us.
Wash it upon me.
I think Andy Reid's an interesting example. Wasn't he GM in Philadelphia?
He was also general manager.
He was the GM in Philadelphia, and he's not in Kansas City.
He's not.
Correct. He doesn't but he has input on the draft. But he drafted really well.
Every head coach has input on the draft, especially when you're a Super Bowl winning coach.
I don't think he wanted the dual duties anymore. Belichick kept it, but Andy's old too. I don't think he wanted both anymore.
Yeah. I just think those are two different skill sets. Being able to coach somebody up and being able to identify talent. And maybe people can't identify talent. Maybe that's just not a thing that exists.
I mean, so I'll say I veer in this agreement with what you're saying, Mike, just because the Giants just traded for Isaiah Simmons for a 7th round pick, and the comps with him.
You should be excited.
I heard it. I'm very excited.
You should be excited about that.
7th round pick, not a high pick. And the comps with him coming out from Clemson were he's going to be the LeBron James of the NFL. And it was just like looking at that.
Mel fucking Kiper probably said that. You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the whole.
There's
draft
some people
BS.
That said some stuff.
His ceiling is insane, though, from the Clemson days.
He's got freakish athletic ability, and it's awesome. But I do think, bless you, sir.
Didn't make it. I tried to click it. It didn't happen.
You're fine. My concern is that NFL. So let me use another example too. Jadeveon Clowney, who is a solid NFL piece, on a defense, should have never went first overall. He went first overall because he had one highlight where he sacked a quarterback so hard his helmet popped off of his head.
He
And
jumped over the
people
line
thought,
one time.
yeah,
That was
two
cool.
highlights. Two
That's
highlights is what got him first overall.
Yes.
Dude's had what? One season over 10 sacks ever?
But he's still in the league. So I wouldn't call him
And
a
it's
bust by
not,
any means.
he's not a bust. I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm not saying he's not a valuable
Trey
piece.
Lance is a bust.
Is this the worst trade up in NFL history? Mike Thomas, I want to go to you first.
It has to be, right? Because every room Trey Lance walks into, the sad trombone plays. So, yeah. Just every time he enters a room, bump, 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 bump.
Even in his home life, right? He walks in.
Just right into the bedroom. Right into the bedroom.
Oh, God. You know what? That could be a thing. He probably has confidence issues, right?
I would say
have to.
No.
Isn't that what really a change of scenery when NFL teams say that? They're like, oh yeah, he just needs a change of scenery. Like, isn't that what that's code for? Is like,
it's code for you're fired.
No longer, well, that.
This guy
but it's also like, this guy's not happy at all in this place. This place just breeds bad feelings. And like, the Giants play the Cardinals week 2. And I think Isaiah Simmons is going to have like 4 sacks in that game and just do like nothing the rest of the season. But I think in Arizona, he's going to be like, I'm going to fuck you guys up. And not just because Colt McCoy is quarterback, just because like you did me wrong.
Yeah.
You guys,
those FU games are fun.
Yeah. I'm very excited for that. That's going to be a good time. But, yeah, in regards to Trey and like Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers, they are a solid team. They could definitely win the NFC. We talked about this with other Mike last record session. They're one of 3 teams in the NFC that we could really see making any sort of run. And they're like 1A, 1B with the Eagles. If they get healthy quarterback play, who knows what that game looks like last season? Who knows what it's going to look like this season if it gets there? But all we know is Trey Lance will not be representing either one of those teams moving forward. And I want to pivot.
The Niners are better off.
Yeah, I think it helps their
better off as a team.
And they were able to cut the fat. But I want to pivot, and I want to start with you, Mike. On the Dallas perspective, this to me, as someone who's watched the elder years of Jerry Jones, feels like a Jerry Jones move. This feels like the shiny toy that like nobody wants, but he's like, I gotta have it. And he's bringing this quarterback who is maligned and like being regarded as a massive undertaking, a massive project. And he's bringing it into a situation where, whether it's right or wrong, Dak Prescott is not being looked at favorably in a lot of NFL circles right now.
How dare you? Dak Attack 2023. Let's go.
We're back on the bandwagon. Heard that.
CeeDee Lamb. Come on.
Do you think that ultimately this is a worse move for the Cowboys or a worse move for Trey Lance?
Interesting. I don't think it's a bad move for the Cowboys in the sense that it's a 4th round pick. Doesn't really cost much to have a look at somebody who there's a chance that he just was not a good fit in the 49ers system and still has a lot of raw talent, and you get him coached up in a different system and he can be a serviceable quarterback. For a 4th round draft pick, you don't need him to go out there and win you 15 games every year. You just kind of need him to ride the bench type of deal. It does feel like a really weird place for him to go, because he's not going to replace Dak anytime soon. He's not going to replace their backup quarterback anytime soon. So are you really trading for a 3rd round quarterback? But at the same time, you're not going to trade somebody a week before the season starts and then cut him. It's just not going to happen. So it's a weird trade for Dallas. Only makes sense when you look at it with a long time scale. And maybe for Trey Lance, it's exactly what he needs. If he is going to have any type of resurgency in his career, if he's going to be a a Geno Smith in 5 or 6 years, he's going to have to ride the bench and be forgotten for a bit.
Craig, anything you would like to add?
Big win for Trey Lance, in my opinion. Dallas, I'm not going to call it like a loss for them because the narrative on Dak is bad, like you said, right? It's bad.
Whether it's right or wrong, it's just not good.
Yeah. And if he doesn't perform well, there is a world where that dude gets a swing. It also costs McCarthy, like they'll be just cycling if that happens, right? So let's say they start the year 2-5 or some shit, or 1-6, like bad. I'm not saying they're going to do that. I don't know their schedule, but let's say it goes that way. You could see that Jerry was already trying to prime up his next if he doesn't think he'd get the number 1 pick, because I think there's a kid coming out that's touted, Caleb
Williams.
Yeah,
from USC.
I don't know, man. Mike nailed it though. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say he nailed it in that this could be the best thing because Geno's the comp there of like how, and there's been other guys that have done stuff like that, but his best case scenario, that's why I think Dallas is okay, because I don't think it's where he'll be forever. And then he gets some swings to really be around if he's got the mentals to stay in it.
Right. So the thing that concerns me about Dallas is with what Mike said, which is like giving up a 4th round pick is still capital. And that's one of the things that these NFL teams treasure more than anything is draft capital. And it's weird that you would trade for him this late in the offseason when you spent a draft pick on Will Grier 2 years ago. You have Cooper Rush, who you trust. You have Dak signed for next year at least, and then that's a big cap hit, so they probably are going to break it out into smaller cap hits a couple years after. It just feels weird because it feels like he doesn't quite fit, but with what you said, Craig, is if they finish or if they start the season 1-6, 2-5, whatever, and they have to can that whole front office, who knows if the dude they're going to bring in gives a shit about Trey Lance. Mm-hmm. So to me, it just feels like a move. I would have rather seen him go to somewhere like Minnesota or somewhere like, I wanted to say Tennessee, but they have 2 guys that they just drafted on behind Ryan Tannehill, but like somewhere along those lines where he's going to have immediate opportunities if something happens to show what he's got. Whereas I don't think that happens in Dallas. But another question that just kind of came to me because we're going to get ready to talk about Hard Knocks and Aaron Rodgers and everything. He sat for 2 or 3 years behind Brett Favre. Do you think it's a mistake that the NFL has, I'm going to start with you on this, Craig, gotten away from this formula a little bit for some of these guys? Obviously, some of them can come in. Patrick Mahomes sat for 1 year, came in and was like, I'm going to be MVP now.
But he still sat the whole year.
Yeah, but sat an entire season.
Right. I think that's a win.
Learned. Do you think that the NFL needs to go back to something like that?
No, it's team by team because, like, you have the Peyton Mannings that didn't and the Dan Marinos that didn't, that started. Ben Roethlisberger, I think, started immediately, very successful. Eli started immediately. Philly Rivers, like, I think you got both sides of it. You got both sides. I
Ben wasn't supposed to.
He was not supposed to, but
he was supposed to sit. And then Tommy Maddox got hurt in week 1, I think. And then Ben came in and got steamrolled against the Ravens. And then he was going to start week 2. And they went to Alan Faneca. I believe the quote, they went to Alan Faneca and said, what do you think about Ben starting next week? And he's like, what do you think I feel? I don't want a freaking rookie out there leading us. That's not going to go well for us. And, of course, Ben didn't lose a game until the Super Bowl.
Right.
Or the championship game, I think.
Right. They went on that rip like 15 or 14 or something shit like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was a stud. But sorry, that one was, I guess, more accidental. But I think there's both sides of it. And then there's teams that fundamentally like try to cultivate talent that way. Green Bay being an example. I think the Patriots attempt to do things like that as well. They, with one big success and a whole lot of not around it. But yeah, and I think some teams are always going to just put the number 1 in. The Colts being the example. They've shown you Richardson isn't the last one that's going to go that way for the Colts, win or lose Super Bowls. They're just that ownership. I think it's the culture of the owner, the get them in. I don't think Jerry's had a number 1 quarterback, a number one overall quarterback. Because Dallas, to his credit, is not usually bad enough
right
to be there.
In that realm to be able to pick that. Yeah, it's strange because it seems like, especially these guys that come in after starting for 1 year, like Trey Lance only started 1 year. Mark Sanchez coming out of USC only started for 1 year. And you throw them in immediately and it's like, that just feels like a lot. Like you hear about guys talk about the transition from, corner in college to corner in the NFL, and like, it's insanely hard. And it's like, yeah, do that at the quarterback position too. I'm certain the windows are smaller, the guys are faster. Like everyone went to Alabama against you. Like they were the best player on that team, and they now get to run at
All
you as
play
fast
together.
as they can. Right.
But it's a risk play though, and Mike was kind of teasing this a little bit, or maybe said something directly that I'm just stealing. But like, from your point you made earlier about how the front office and how it's really difficult to get that talent. Maybe even you weren't even sure if it's a skill that people can have. We could debate that all day, but I think it's the same at the cultivation of the players and who's going to like mentally go and who's going to not, because there's something in the players. Not to shit on Trey Lance, I know we're going to go hard knocks. He don't have it, in my opinion, right? That switch. Aaron Rodgers, I think, does have that switch, and I'm seeing like different guys that we get to root for that get drafted early. You're all just seeking, who do you think is going to have it? Who do you think is going to have it? And it's the most difficult thing. It's the absolute most difficult thing. It's the most fun thing to speculate on.
Yeah, and I get Trey did sit, I think, the first year behind Jimmy. He's still got time because Jimmy got hurt like Jimmy does. But
Stop it.
He does.
Hurtful words.
Tell me where the lie is and I'll stop.
There's no
I think maybe some of these guys coming out of college could use one more seasoning. I think, do yourself a favor and stay another year so that you're a little more prepared, you're a little bigger, you're a little stronger, a little faster, or like teams can do a better job of assimilating them. Like I think the Giants fucked up with Daniel Jones. Like he should not have started his first year, and like,
but he's fine. He's like a guy now.
He's doing stuff. He's doing stuff. We can talk about that another time too. I think we've berated Trey Lance, and
Mike wants to shit on Trey Lance.
One more. It's not a shit on Trey Lance. I think there's I think there might be an element of a business decision behind pushing the quarterbacks to play as rookies, because the comments are, your window when you have a young quarterback who's doing well is their rookie contract. If they play well, your window to win the Super Bowl is their rookie contract. That's and if you've got quarterbacks that are coming in and you're like, I want them to win a Super Bowl now, so let's see if we've got somebody that could give us a window here for the next 3 or 4 years. So I could see that being a thing why GMs would be like, we got to play him early as opposed to let him sit for a year or two. And now we only get 1 or 2 years to see what he's got on the field. And we got to pay him if he does well, we have to pay him the big bucks right away. And that kind of sucks.
It was just so counterintuitive, though. I had to Google this real quick, but I thought the highest paid guys in the league are rarely the Super Bowl champions. And there's this weird thing that even Mahomes wasn't the highest paid this year because he has that really wonky, fun deal. But he's probably going to take a Tom Brady page because he wants more titles. Like he's been very clear about that. So he won't probably, or they'll find a funny way to get him to like 53 to be number one, but then not really or whatever. The guys that make the most, or take, maybe I should say not make the most, take the most, don't win titles. They do not. I don't know that there's been one that was the highest paid guy in the league in the modern era that is going to win. The same, Mahomes is not. He was the first one, is what this site says, above 35 mil.
It's a weird thing, and I don't know that Trey Lance is ever going to be that guy that they maybe thought he was when they took him third overall. That they definitely thought he was when they took him third overall. But this does bring me to, I was going to wrap it, but I do have one more question because we did talk about Caleb Williams. It's not even Trey. It is a very interesting situation because we talked about Caleb Williams and we've already discussed a little bit about Arizona. Kyler Murray is not starting the season. He's hurt. And Arizona is set up seemingly to have two very early top 5 picks. They have Houston's first and their own first, and there is a strong possibility that they end up with the first and one of the other top 5 picks.
How sick
overall.
would it be if they get 1-2?
1-2 would be nuts. It would be
so cool. Has that ever happened?
Stupid. Not that I can remember. 2-3 was the first time, and that was this year when they traded.
Oh no, Mike's muted. He knows.
If you get 1-2, you trade one, right?
I think so.
I don't know. Not value. This season. No, I don't think so.
Really?
Can you afford to pay
Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr.?
Oh yeah.
And that's what I was going to ask. What happens to Kyler? There's a new coach in Arizona. There's a new GM in Arizona.
He's gone. Bye.
But where does he go? Where are you?
Oh my God!
Taking this
esports.
He already
baseball.
Which he probably
could be playing Minecraft.
No, he would still get offers of stupid money.
He has stupid money. His contract is a lot of money. He's like the 8th highest paid quarterback. He needs
out of there because that's a bad facility. We know that from the report card thing. The front office before is not the same as now. So even the people that were high on him, he needs a new setting. And I think he will be just fine.
I could definitely see, and this is just spitballing, but I could definitely see Minnesota being interested. But I don't know that trade happens in that. Aren't they in the same division? No. Yes.
No.
They aren't. What? No, they're not in the same division.
No. Minnesota's in the north of the NFC.
Right.
Arizona's in
the
west.
I think Minnesota, Kirk Cousins' final year of his contract this year, I think you could make a case.
If Kyler's available, I think many teams, we'd be in the there'd be all the rage would be like what Dalvin Cook was on times 2. Everybody wanted Dalvin. I think there'd be a lot of interest in him because he is not mentally bought in, but that also could be circumstantial of him not wanting to be there. And we know his upside when healthy is absurd.
So insane.
Mike won a title in fantasy, I think, is with Kyler as his quarterback, right? Or is that not true? I don't remember. Maybe not.
I think it was Allen.
Oh, yeah, that's good too, but way better. Peak Kyler is not right. Peak Kyler is not peak Allen or peak Mahomes, but peak Kyler could be a top 5 guy in the league.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He needs a new setting. Trey Lance got a new setting, won't matter.
New scenery.
Kyler needs
Change
a new
scenery.
setting. Yeah.
Change of scenery. Coming full circle. That was just something I wanted to throw on there because it kind of seems Arizona seems like they are set up to have the first and second, first and third, second and third, something.
What if Houston is wins 6 games somehow with their 2 top rookies they took?
They could, I guess. That division is ass.
You guys are rookie haters, but see, what if they got? Didn't they get C.J. Stroud and Will, the DN that was
Anderson?
The best?
I think it's Anderson.
Yeah, Will Anderson.
They did take both of those.
Yeah.
Mr. Anderson.
We know a big blow up D guy can win a game or 2, so that could happen.
For sure. I just don't know that they have enough pieces around CJ Stroud right now to make him successful.
Who's the running back over there? I don't know his name.
Damian Pierce.
That sounds right.
I feel like that.
Right. Mike took Jonathan Taylor in our fantasy draft.
I heard. And then I told Mike that your offensive line's terrible, and he was like, regrets.
Well, that's not even true what you're saying.
Well, we are going to wrap our Trey Lance dunkathon there. We wish for nothing but the best for Trey. He's already made $27 million.
Good for him.
So, I am not worried about him in the slightest. Enjoy your time in Dallas. Come see us in New York, son. We'll mess you up. Guys, do me a favor and comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you think about Trey Lance and if you think he's as bad as everyone on this podcast does. I'm just kidding. Trey, we appreciate you probably. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you guys all back here next time.